Oh, I'm like in a mood. So I guess some more intellectual property. For me as a researcher or as a student, it's in full disclosure because it is controversial. Because what I'm basically doing is where there was unknown information, where people could be proud of their education, I'm taking that away from them. So I know that at American, people felt immense pressure from our military. And I'm going to describe where it came from. Where they lied. They felt comfortable going after my suffering for my beliefs. And it's not really their fault that they didn't believe that it was real. It's not really their fault, right? But there are things to be compared. So, community college is like baby college. And there is a huge difference between your undergraduate, my private school writing requirements, and state college. So I've learned over time that people like to make fun of me. The way that musicians are trained, I know how to write. And the way that I know how to write isn't in society. People don't use it. So another research idea I have for these colleges that are basically taking away the hope and opportunity of very many people. And that's what people get for lying. Is there's ways to look at syntax and compare. So I was lucky that when I was in high school, I had the private school teacher and I got an A with the newspaper James. We both got A's on the Great Gatsby. And my friends looked in jealousy. And in college, it's very interesting because people went around and they spent because they were popular vote type of people. They were PE teachers. And it's not really their fault. But the thing is, that hope and opportunity and sense of pride isn't there. Um, and it shouldn't be there because people shouldn't lie about their education. They should be able to show at each point. But men heard other men talking and they had women that just clapped their hands and patted them on the back and told them they were so brave. And what I did when I transferred into Broward College, I was like, in full disclosure, I want you to know the government shut down my computer. And the teacher said, I worked for the federal government. That didn't happen. I was like, okay, thank you. The government shut down my computer because I was typing something that they didn't like. So I ended up getting my degree that has the backing of the Department of Homeland Security. And over time, people were angry, right? Well, I gave information to the police for my family's safety, for my brother's safety. And a lot of what's spurring this is because people didn't know how to not take digs. And I've worked around at the Y, you know, at the Y. Let's go back to the Y. I worked around people going into the military and I clap for them. I clap. Do I think that they're making the right decision? As long as you don't have political beliefs and as long as you haven't seen any problems in the system, as long as you're not cynical, the military weeds itself out. So that girl came in, she got my kids and they were always little angels because I'm good at my job and that's what allows them to work. But I've also been in classes with cops, right? And there are people that I was like, you're going to go to war and you're going to get yourself killed. It is literally like it's like war, except we don't go to war anymore. There hasn't been a lot of bloodshed in a while. So war weeds out people. So the people that cannot listen, they get killed in war because you do not know how to take directions, right? So, at Broward College, I was in class. I basically had classes. I was able to observe people and I was able to watch people sit up in the middle of class and be like, I work for the what did she work for? She was Hispanic. I work for what did she work for? I think she worked for the DE. People like to have their crossover stories where they're bragging. Well, this behavior I'd already seen at the events that I went to. So what ended up happening is women, and something else that needs to be understood about me is in my theory of personality, I viewed women as completely helpless. The fairer sex. They don't know better. And that is because of my caregiver. And my brother is the exact same way. And it's not a bad way to think of people. So when you look at me, I have a mentor one because I understood that women who were not the most well behaved, would be the suitable victims around men. And over time, what happened is now we have more attractive female officers than we did before because they feel comfortable working in those environments. It's their brother, that's their bro. But that's not the way that I have ever observed a work environment. It is a Me Too work environment where these people that to me have not learned the correct behavior have been able to go into the work environment, and for whatever reason, I am a target of these people. And again, it doesn't really bother me because the split has benefited me because I'm always a special circumstance. I'm always, well, why couldn't I incorporate into Florida? Why I couldn't incorporate into Florida is because what would have been my peers from West Virginia, which would have been the up and coming Hispanics, they didn't like me. And I ranked higher than them in their education system. So they perceive me as talking bad about what they deserve, but they're going after my family. And these people that I thought were peers that now I have to question, were they with the cocaine cowboys as well? Right? That was altruism. I was called altruistic in high school. And for my personality theory, I was always like, I have more on my shoulder, but I want someone to come and get to know me, right? And I'm like, myself and my brother took on more responsibility to care for someone who is probably a couple of years older, right? And there are these women that we never had the benefit of being able to go home because there's somebody that could work a minimum wage job. There was never that benefit. And I much prefer the female that I had to these people that I view as corrupt and I view as sucking off the system, having their sons go into the military, have their sons go into the police force, but they're not actually willing to risk their lives. They're not actually willing to die for anything. And that is a difference with me because even at my college, I always thought I was going to get killed. So I almost have a martyr's mental philosophy, and that is a huge problem for people that I have connected with to try to help them, not taking the information and not taking the data that I took in into pain because they didn't have the same convictions. So why should they suffer for my convictions? But they put themselves in a situation where that information was disclosed. So a big problem is when I worked around the wives of Navy men. And you can tell my lack of respect for them because they're on the inflation scale. So I worked around someone that was likely raped by them, someone that was kidnapped by them. And this person came off to me in such a way where I felt protective of them because they were in their 40s. And was I still in my 20s? Maybe. And I was like, what is going on here? And I'm like, this person doesn't know who they just talked to. Because no matter what, for me as a filter, if something upsets me, it's going to come out. But what happened is, and this is where I wish my peer, where there were no other girls. And I'm like, why can't you just call the women dumb? Why can't you criticize the Me Too movement? Why are you so desperate for affection that you have sacrificed my character and my friendship? Why can't you criticize these people? Instead, you let them put you on a pedestal and you do not call us peers. You do not say we had separate paths. And all it has done was it's created these women that do not know better, do not care. Their decisions will never work out. They are making decisions that are affecting lives. But again, I do not care because at this point, I am just my own little research bubble. People know what they are getting. But that is my criticism of this person. And I'm like, how much cost was it to you? Like, really? Because I know that when I was talking to the vitamin CEO and I was like, I just got an interview with the State Department, I knew I was always chomping at the bit. So I guess at some point, these factors combine and these people are like, we are celebrities, you're not celebrities. It's never going to work out. You got the payoff. You cannot expect a college publication to have had an interview with the State Department ambassador. You can't. And even that person did the wrong thing. To the point where the projects that I posted, I was being compared to the State Department. And I actually don't know because I don't have my transcript. I know that I got to be in that class, but I know people had to fudge things around. And again, it doesn't really matter to me because of the names involved. Called it. I'm like, you know what? This isn't. These people are going to watch out for me on my way out. And they're going to argue for me while they're on the inside. But unfortunately, there are more crazy things that have happened to me. So it's fine. I played it the way that I didn't want to go into it to begin with. But I played it the way it worked out the way that I thought it would. And I'm going to live off of that. Just like I lived off of, I just never took the payout of people being like, go to this ambassador's event, go to this walk, da da da. I didn't have what I needed in my life to make the connection. It would have been different if I had the graduate school or something else in place, because that's all that I would have had to work with. So if I meet someone and I'm like, I work at a retail store, that's all that I have to work with, and it's not enough. So don't like me. There's no rational or reasonable expectation prediction. I'm like mixing words here. So even within my college, people do backgrounds, right? And it's something that I felt very bad for. So I would always say, I'm going to these events because I knew that everyone on my phone would be in the background, you know? And things did not, the school, like these people who were educated in the 70s expected the yippie movement. They expected people to be outraged. They expected my friends to protest, and they didn't. And again, like the way that maybe it is a fatal flaw and mistake, but it's fine because it's going to work out in the long run, by saying these people are not educated to ever be able to make the decisions that they are making. Just like I ignore them, you can ignore them. Not until they have like a calculus course. It's all words, it's all the gift of gab. And that's a really horrible thing if you think about in the organization of the world, for people to be able to leer in and look down and be like, you know what? If this person doesn't have calculus, if this person doesn't have physics, and I don't have these things. I don't. But for whatever reason, women. And it's a really horrible thing for me to say, you can bet how precise this person is based on their aptitude in doing this. Because that excludes a lot of people. So it's just horrible that like my male peers have given me two uh, female peers that weren't in our classes. Even if, again, the only thing that I'm doing is I'm staring and I'm observing, that is enough because it's gotten me this far. So, I mean, I would not change anything about my life because my mother, who waited on me hand and foot all my life, you know, who was the nicest person in the world, and my brother, in terms of altruism, like I hate listening to people talk sometimes because they're so like self-centered. You just know the way that they are. You just know these cops that go through our community education just care about and getting a wife and impressing them. And it's just like there's not a lot there. And I don't have to respect people when I've seen even judges not do the right thing, because it's like they have sons, and instead of like, it's like, did they do their son's homework? Are their children capable of doing anything at all? And I sincerely doubt it. So I should not be the target